Hello and welcome to our NAVS channel. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is a channel that's meant to help you, survive for victims of narcissistic abuse, but also help you find ways to thrive once you're out of the situation and find different ways perhaps to make money or just develop a new skill. And so I wanted to create a channel that not only brings awareness to what is narcissistic abuse, but brings you hope, inspiration, so that you know there is a life after and there's a lot of things you can do. And that's why I invited my future star, because I'm also a film producer. So I wanted to invite Maayan Gordon today to be on this show because she is a TikTok influencer. I think you're at over 1 billion views and 2.5 million followers. So the reason why I wanted to invite her today is really to give you a different idea of what life can be like and show a little bit of her journey and her story so that maybe it inspires you to do something as well. So thank you so much for taking the time to be here today.
Absolutely. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, so I'm glad. I mean, I got interested in you because I saw your LinkedIn profile at some point and I saw, wow, she has like 1 billion views on TikTok. That is so cool. And then we spoke about one of my film projects and it's still in the making. So that's where it got to there. But how did you first start this journey into broadcasting on TikTok?
Yeah, so the TikTok journey really started out on Instagram. My very first businesses that I built were, built off of Instagram. We had a website, but back 10 years ago, 8 years ago, websites wouldn't load a lot of pictures really quickly, and Instagram was just a better way or a complementary way to have a really nice photo gallery that people could also, comment on and interact with and share the images. And so, I started just focusing on business and posting different product pictures. But then I just kind of felt this pull to share more of my story and what I was going through. And I think the reason I felt that way was because I knew, even without like really having conversations, interactions, I knew other people must be going through the same thing or similar things that I was going through. And so I just wanted to kind of put it out there into the world and try and help some other people. So I started, doing some live streaming and just creating some posts that really shared a bit more about like what I was struggling through, what I'd overcome, different things that I was experiencing and noticing in the world. And I got a really good response to that, where like people were reaching out and telling me that they were going through really challenging things and how much those posts meant to them to like not feel that they were the only ones out there who were struggling or going through something challenging. And so, when TikTok kind of traveled into my awareness and I started thinking about it as a potential platform, I really wasn't thinking about it in a sense of sharing something that was part of my story, but I thought about sharing something I was really passionate and interested about. Which was glass blowing. And I was like, oh, this platform's all videos. Glass blowing looks super visually cool in video format. I want to get, glass blowing out to more people, because at the time I felt like glass blowing was also something not a lot of people had experience with or had really seen or learned about. And I really just wanted to share that with more people. So I think, always when it comes to social media for me, it's really come from a place of wanting to share something that either I'm passionate about or I've gone through or struggled with, but trying to, build that connection through social media was always kind of what drove me to be consistent with it.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, glass blowing is so magical, right? You see it, it's like, wow, it's like, it reminds me, my dad used to be a pastry chef, but his expertise was in sugar. And so he used to, pull the sugar and make like roses and baskets. And, so it was like, so it reminds me, because it's very similar, in the heating of the material and expanding it. So it's really, really cool. So if someone like lives in a very dark place, right? And wants to start this journey, or even if they're not in a dark place, but they just want to start, what would be your, and maybe they're shy or adverse to being on video, or they don't know what they're gonna say, they're afraid they're gonna mess up. Like, what would be your advice to them?
Yeah, first I'd say it is scary. It's scary for everyone to do new things, right? That's kind of part of being human. So, don't let the fear stop you. But if you're kind of, challenged with it, and you are noticing that, you want to post, but this fear is kind of holding you back, I think a really good kind of strategy to get started is use the messaging that you want to tell yourself. So instead of feeling like you want to put out something that you firmly believe in right now, just put out something that you would want to hear said back to you, and kind of use the platform almost as a way to talk to yourself, but really you're also talking to everyone else at the same time. And that's kind of a really cool thing. And I think, that's a lot of times when I think to when I was in a really dark place, I think there's two kind of, strong feelings and pulls in opposite directions that you can feel. One is to like give into it and just tell everyone like how miserable you are and how much everything really feels like it sucks. But on the opposite end, and usually at the exact same time that you're feeling that, you're also feeling like, I wish someone would tell me something positive and encourage me. Like, I want to hear that thing that gets me out of this like deep, dark place. And so if you think about what would you want someone to tell you that might make you feel hope or feel encouraged, and write that to yourself on social media, I think that's a great place to start, because by putting the positive message out there, it really will have an impact on you. Even if you don't feel it right away, over time, I think it does start to change a little bit slowly how you think, how you feel. And it also can draw other people to you at the same time that are either going through the same thing or really want to support you. And so I think that's a great way to get started. That's really simple. It could be literally a sentence that you're posting, right? Like if you don't feel comfortable on video, which a lot of times if you're in a dark place, you're not going to feel comfortable on video. You're going to feel like you really don't like to look at yourself. You're going to feel just all of these extra feelings, versus if you just type it and you start small and then you expand from there as you start to build that kind of confidence, as you start to build these positive emotions that can kind of take your focus away from the depth of that negativity. Because it's kind of like when you're in that situation, it's like a black hole where the more you focus on it and think about it, the harder it is to escape it. But also the more you kind of want to think about it and focus on it. And so just even giving yourself these little pieces of, focus that are outside of the black hole can start to like pull you out of it, just even on your own. So, you guys have the power to be able to pull yourself. You don't need someone else to come save you from the black hole. And it's not, something that happens in one day, but it's something that's really empowering once you start to even feel it just a little bit. And it can be everything that you need to get all the way out of that situation in the way that situation makes you feel.
You're absolutely right. Listening to you, I was going through in my mind my own little life story, and I was thinking, actually, that's exactly what I did. I don't know if it was conscious or not, and I did this like just the other day, like that's how recent, because I was lacking faith in something. Like I didn't see the result of all the energy I was putting in. And so I started to panic because I couldn't see like, where is it? When are we there yet? Are we there yet? And I started slowly drifted into that black hole, right? Where you start like making yourself worry even more and more and more. And so what I did is I actually started writing my stories of all the times that God saved me and all the times that faith actually was so powerful in my life, and that miracles happen out of nowhere. And I think the more I researched, and in the past, I also dealt a lot with depression. And in the past, I remember I used to post exactly what you said. It's so funny because I would be like, who can I call that can tell me all these things I want to hear? And eventually I would just write them or just speak them in the camera, because that's what I needed to hear. And that's how I built a consulting business, actually, because I inspired so many people.
That's so awesome.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. I totally, and you're right also that because of it, we start switching our focus on more positive things. Therefore, the endorphins, all the positive energy start building up. We start having more creativity for solutions, and then the life starts improving. So you're right. You're right. And also, I think while you were speaking, and I don't know what you think about this, but it's also the idea of quantity. The more you're gonna make those videos and post, the better you'll get at it, and then the least effort it'll feel like, and it won't feel anymore like there's a camera. It'll feel like you're just talking to your friend.
Yeah, 100%. I think a good example of that would be, think about if you have a favorite restaurant or place that you like to go to. The very first time you ever stepped into that space, you were paying attention to so many different things, right? You would notice the lights, and you would notice the wall decor, and you would look at the counter, and you would see all these different things. But as you go more and more often, you stop kind of looking at some of those things. And I think that's what happens when you're creating a new type of content, especially when you're doing camera or video work, where the first times you're doing it, you're noticing everything. You're noticing how your eyes look a little bit more tired, or you're noticing, that you're noticing all these things. And a lot of times you're noticing things that you perceive as an imperfection. But the more you practice, the less you're focused on those things, and the more you just hone in on what you're saying and why you're saying it. And so everything else about even the video kind of falls away from your consciousness, because all you're really thinking about is the image of what you're saying, right? So if I'm hopping on camera and I'm talking about TikTok creators and how they're changing the world with their positive, awesome content, I'm not really focusing on me and my lips and what I'm saying. I'm in my head imagining and picturing their actual videos, right? I'm picturing a video of someone talking about their ADHD and how it's a superpower. I'm picturing a video of someone who's making a really beautiful loaf of bread, right? I'm focused on those things. And what that does is it makes it so much easier and more comfortable for me to do them, because I don't have that kind of self-awareness that sometimes can jar us from actually being in the moment.
Yeah, you're totally right. It's exactly, it's a great advice for people to just focus on, and also focus on what you're talking about, instead of being so preoccupied by how you look and who you are on camera and what others are gonna think. And I realized that, I changed, we all change, we go through, aging or just changing the features, and also you're right, sometimes we're tired, sometimes we're not. But I realized that the fans that grew watching me through my YouTube videos, they found me human. And because I didn't put up a show, I didn't come there to create something perfect. I just came as I was. Sometimes I didn't even have makeup. I just felt like I needed to share something, and I turned on my camera, and it was blah blah blah, and that was it. And the fans really, everyone that being passionate about what I did told me the same thing, is that they said, you feel so much like one of us. You feel so common, and we can relate so much to who you are, that's why we connect with you, and we feel like we're so close to you. And I think that's important, because let's say if a survivor of narcissistic abuse would like tomorrow to start a TikTok about their journey on survival, right? It could be like how they're dealing now with, you know, the kids, the lawyer, getting out, like fighting, whatever it is. You don't need to, you know, put on the makeup and the beautiful lights and, you know, make sure that everything's like, because it's life. Life is not perfect. Life is just life. It happens, right?
Yeah, I think, you know, video isn't about trying to be something. It's about trying to be you and just being your most authentic self. And that's honestly what people want. And I think for whatever reason, society has sold us all these ideas, probably, you know, because they want to sell us products and services, but we've been sold ideas our entire life that we're supposed to be something specific. And the reality is we're not supposed to be anything. We already are the thing that we're supposed to be. And so if you can practice exercising that muscle of just being yourself, because it is really like a muscle like anything else, that's where true success comes from. It's not from looking a certain way. It's not from being able to do something. It's from showing up as who you truly are. And I think that also is something that feels really good to just, you know what, I'm me. There's nothing wrong with me. I am perfect as I am. And do I have, you know, flaws or make mistakes? Yes, but I am perfect as I was born and as I am is something that the world needs more of. And so if you can practice that in front of a camera, like practice it for yourself, but do it in front of a camera so you can share it with everyone else. That's a phenomenal formula for building success, creating massive opportunities that like you can't even imagine what the opportunities are, but just by being yourself and showing up, you're going to create them.
Yes, and you're right about so yeah, two things that you said that I really like. The improvement of the self-image and the self-esteem, knowing that we're perfect just the way we are. And you know, people that survive narcissistic abuse have such issues with self-esteem because we've been so crushed by the abuser that we literally think we're worthless and worthless without the abuser there. So it is a practice. And you're right, being on camera and suddenly having people, you know, reach out and saying, hey, you know, I'm like you, you know, I love you and I'm like you and I feel you and I understand because I'm living the same thing, and thanks for sharing and thanks for being you. And so that also improved the self-esteem. And you're right, the point is not doing the videos to make money or to do anything special, but just let life guide us, follow that path and let life guide us to what opportunities are going to show. And you're right, like it's a limitless opportunity. I remember, you know, when I started doing YouTube, it was because I was launching my first book, and I thought, you know, who knows, maybe it'll be a success, you know, maybe there's a chance, you know. And so I decided I'm going to put a video up every day about just giving more advice than the book and sending the people onto my website. And not even a year later, it was a few months later, I was invited to do a book signing in Paris for so I had immediately a second book that came out. So for 2 books, and the editor looked at me like there were literally hundreds of people waiting to get their book signed. And the editor looked at me and said, I think they're for the wrong author. They cannot be for you. So it must be some kind of mistake, right? So he sent people to just tell them, you know who you're waiting for, right? You must be in the wrong lane. And so, but the hundreds of people actually came for me, and some drove like hours and hours. And he looked at me and it was like, I've never seen this happen ever. And he's been 25 years in business, and he said, I've never seen this happen like ever. And so he started asking the people, like, why did you come? They didn't come because they bought the book. They came because of the YouTube videos. And they came to buy the book because of the YouTube videos. And so he freaked out. He said, I've never, ever seen such an impact. So like you said, you don't know where the opportunities are going to come or who is listening out there, but just being yourself and starting. And I think, I don't know what you think, but it, when we're depressed, like I have these ups and downs, like I think I'm a little bipolar. So sometimes I have these really, like, I dive and it's scary where I dive. But now I know myself enough to know when I dive that I'm actually diving into, darkness, depression, and all. So I already know that I'm there. So, but every time I do, I now have my plan of action. And I know that, I become lethargic, like nothing, nothing. I want to do nothing. But then what I trick myself by saying, why don't you just do one little video? There's nothing there. So one little action, and that boosts a little bit of endorphin, and then a little more endorphin, and then I get, I pull myself out of the depression that way. And I'm thinking that doing TikTok videos and things like that can be distracting enough from our everyday problems that it can be a really good way to get happy again, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I love that you brought up the chemicals that our brain produces, because what happens when we get really depressed is we start lacking certain chemicals like endorphins, dopamine, oxytocin, and that, even just by itself, just the lack of those chemicals can make us feel like really low. And so understanding, one, how your brain works, one can just make you feel a little bit more comforted that it's kind of a normal biological process. There's nothing wrong with you and like your psyche or who you are that's making you feel that way. A lot of it is like, because of chemicals in our body, but then also knowing, oh, okay, so if I can do something that gives me those chemicals or creates those chemicals, that's going to help me kind of, start to get out of this darkness and depression. And to your point, that's something like that I go through when sometimes I just wake up and it just feels like a sad, depressing day. And the morning can be a challenging time, especially if you're someone who's in a longer depression. The morning can be a really, really tough time. And so for me, when I am in that, right, I'm feeling it. If I can step back from it, even just for a couple moments, to go, I believe this is happening because of these factors, then now I'm kind of using the more logical side of my brain. So not just giving all of our focus into those emotions, going, okay, if I'm feeling this way because I don't have enough dopamine, what are the activities I can do right now that I know produce dopamine? So exercise is one, right? Even though when, of course, you're depressed, you don't feel like exercising. So that's why you can't be sitting in a pure place of emotion, because you're not going to feel like doing it. But if you can step out of pure emotion into thinking about your situation, then you can go, okay, well, here's a solution I could try. And then you do that. And then I promise you guys, it's like, it always works. And it'll work to varying degrees, but these chemicals, they're very real, right? Like no one can, for example, smoke a joint the first time and not get high. Like chemicals affect how we feel, right? And so understanding what are those things that you can do that are going to consistently help you feel a little bit better, I think is a really important strategy for any human being to have.
Yeah, I even, when I have it in my fridge, it's my plan. So to make sure I don't forget, because when you get depressed, you might even forget to be logical and get out of it. So I even have it at different places so they're visible to me as my buoy, I'm feeling, I'm sliding. What is the plan of action? Oh, go for a walk. Okay, I'm just gonna go for a walk. And if I slip too much, then I divide it into just put on your shoes. Put on your shoes, and that's it. Then just open the door. Okay, now
Yeah.
just step outside, So I divide it into tiny baby steps until I'm outside, and I walked half an hour, and then I'm like, okay, hey, look, I did it. I did this thing that I never thought I'd do. So, and then of course you reverse the prod. And I think people who are kind of wary of starting social media can utilize the same tactic. I'll just start my camera today. I won't say anything. I'll just, positioning and prepare just in case. And then tomorrow you can do a little more and a little more until you get to a point where you have a full video.
Yeah, I love that. And that's actually something I've suggested to people who are really struggling to post video content, or with the idea. They haven't even tried. They're just like, this idea is too scary for me to even attempt it. One of the things that I suggest is, start just by filming the videos and have zero intention of posting them. Just get into the practice, and that can help you kind of fight that fear that you have, because no matter how bad it feels to do the video, you can delete it afterwards. You can erase it and never think about it again. But the act and the habit and the practice of doing it does affect you in a really positive way, where after, and it could be a long time, right? Maybe you've been taking videos and deleting them for 270 days, but on day 271, for whatever reason, you don't even know, you're like, I'm gonna post this one today. And then boom, your life has changed. And now you're, a year later, you're like, wow, I post every day. I can't even believe I was ever scared of doing that. Our lives can really, really change very, very profoundly. And it's in a way that we can't see from the moment that we're sitting in right now. And I think that's true whether you're in a dark place or a light place, that just the universe is so infinite with possibilities that you have no idea what good things could be coming your way that you just can't see right now.
Yeah, totally. I have a list. Personally, I have a list. It's called the out of nowhere list, out of the blue list. So every time something happens out of the blue, which means I didn't expect it, or I didn't plan for it, or I couldn't envision it, mini miracles, I write in my out of the blue list. And so when I don't see result, I go and reread my out of the blue list and say, look at all these times where something literally happened out of the blue, like you couldn't possibly plan for this to happen. And so, yeah, I totally believe in that. And so I'm super excited that we had this call, and I think it can really inspire people to start, at least posting, especially when you're a victim of abuse. And for me, the reason why I started all of this is because I hid it for all my life. And then I read one post of someone, and it made such an impact for me, because I thought, oh my gosh, I've been hiding this from the world for all my life. And it's also preventing me from being my true self, because I always have this Pandora box. What if I open it? The end of the world. I cannot share this, everything but not this. And so I thought, but maybe it's also blocking me from being successful, because I have this, fear of, maybe one day people will find out this about me. And that's why I started sharing it. And the more I shared, the more I heard people's stories sharing back their own, like you just said, with your own journey with TikTok and Instagram. And it feels so good to not feel alone in our, in our journey, to feel that, wow, there's other people like us, not in a bad way, but in a way like, I'm not the only one in the world who's living this. There's others, and more than that, there's others. Now their life is amazing. So there is a way out of this. There is a journey to light. And so I'm really thrilled that you came here, and I hope we do others in the future. And just for the people who don't know what you're doing now, I'm so excited about what you're doing now. So what are you doing now?
Yeah, so I'm focused on a couple different projects. The main one is that I'm traveling across the entire country for the next 2 or more years. I'm in an RV right now. So we sold our house, bought an RV, are traveling everywhere, and we're talking with small business owners about their stories and sharing those stories with people all across the globe, really to empower them to see that, you know, small businesses have this really big impact in our society, to help us connect with each other. And really everything I do is centered around connection. I'm also doing some fun things in the content creation space and working on a post-production company that's going to be launching to help people who maybe, you know, like creating the video, but hate all the editing process and things that, you know, you can do afterwards. So those are kind of the 2 main things that I'm focused on. And the third, which is really the core of my focus always, is I'm just always working on being more me, and you know, working on you know, loving myself and being able to connect with people on a deeper level. Because to your point, not just in terms of being able to see myself as in the success that I am today. When I was at my, you know, darkest lows, and my lowest lows and my darkest places, I couldn't even imagine, I could never have imagined being the person that I am today. And so I just want everyone watching this to understand that no matter how you feel about yourself right now, if you take these little steps and you just have this commitment to trying, to just trying every day and trying in the smallest way or the biggest way that you can, that the person you are can completely transform into someone that you feel so incredibly lucky to be, and that all of the feelings associated with the life that you have are things you never imagined anyone could feel or have in their life. So just, you know, don't give up whatever it is that you're doing, and just know that if I can do it, you can do it too. And it might take what seems like a long time when you're in it, but once you're out of it and you're in this new place of wonder and excitement and love, you'll be, wow, I can't believe how fast that transformation happened, because it can be the biggest transformation in the world.
Yeah, thank you. That is so inspiring. And you're absolutely right about that. Little steps, and suddenly you can't believe, and you would have never imagined the success or the result that you're in. So I totally believe that. And one last thing I think, if I may add, is to never look at life or people's success as in this or that, meaning a lack mindset, meaning, oh, if she succeeded, there's less room for me kind of mentality, but more the mentality of abundance, of this and that, meaning if she succeeded, then I can succeed too. I think it's important to switch
100%.
also that mindset.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much. Really, it's been a total pleasure. Like, I feel honored and so happy to have you here. And what I'll do for people, if anyone wants to reach her, I'll put your LinkedIn link below so you can contact her via LinkedIn. You're the awesomeness incarnate.
Thank you. I so appreciate the opportunity just to have a conversation with someone that I really love.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And yeah, and I'm hoping to talk to you soon again about the movie side of thing. And I'll also put a link to our feature film also in the so that you can follow also what's happening on that journey, which will be kind of cool too. So so thank you so much once again, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you so much.